So we're going to take two, since apparently I was muted. Sorry about that. Thank you for telling me. As I was saying, after you've taken that couple of days to put your book up, walk away from it, and come back, you're going to start into revisions. Revisions are mandatory for any author before you begin to submit your book for any part of directing you to publishing. Thank you for popping in and letting me know. So, as you think about these next steps, they're very, very straightforward. If you're somebody who's took the time to write your story in a book first and then you're going to move it to the computer, because you can't do most of the other processing, the editing and the sharing and things that you need to do if you have it sitting in your book at home. So you're going to need to work on that. If you are not a person who likes to type, which may be the reason why you handwrote it, one of the things you can do is take advantage of Google Drive's free speech-to-text program, and you just open up a Google Doc, click on the voice options, and just start talking. And there you can read from your book right into the computer. You will be going back to edit it before you send it out to anybody. So if there are a few errors, don't worry about it. You're going to fix them anyway. If you're somebody who's already typed your book into the computer, that's typically the way I do it. Your process is just a bit different. In your case, you're going to start reading your book. And you're going to put it right in front of you. And you're going to take the first read through. You're going to identify 3 things you really, really like about the story. And on the second read through, you're going to identify 3 things you really don't like about the story. This is before anybody else sees it. Once you know your 3 things like and dislike, I mean, and they have to stir up some kind of significant emotion to qualify for this list. You've got to ask yourself some very important questions. And those first most important questions are, how does this book add to my plot? Does it further the story? If the answer to that is no, you don't need it. If the story, if this scene does not add to your character development or your plot, you don't need it. So the next step is to get rid of it. And it doesn't matter if it's one of those pieces that you really, really, really love. If it is not adding to your plot, copy it, paste it into a new document. You don't need it. That's a step. That's a primary part of revisions. Once you've done the parts that are stirring the most emotion, one way or the other, positive or negative, you want to do the same. Ask the same question for each scene for the rest of your book. Does it further my story? Does it build my character? And if the answer to either one of those is no, do I need this? And the answer to that is simply no. And you remove it. However, if by removing it, you're realizing that there are aspects of it that you need, that's when you begin to create new scenes that better fit your goal. And they can go right where you are adjusting, editing, or you take that section, you just rewrite that section. And this is a revision process. And you're going to do this at least twice on your book before you want to start the path toward an editor of any kind. And yes, even if you are talking about going the traditional route, you want to put your book through revision process, absolutely, because you want your book to be pretty. And you want to make sure you've got coherent scenes that consistently move your story along. The next thing you absolutely want to do, besides going through the revision process before you send it out to an editor of any kind, is to send it into, or put it into Pro Writing Aid, which is a program you can use for free, or Grammarly, which you can also use for free. And both of those will help you identify structural issues. You don't want your editor having to spend a lot of time looking at all the little tedious pieces. Every little bit extra few minutes that it takes them to look at this little line and say, oh no, your period is missing. It was unintentional. You probably got moving too fast and called it a day, and it just didn't end up in there. Every time they have to mark that, that's more time they're taking and more they're going to bill you. No point in increasing your budget exponentially over little things when there are free options to help you avoid that. So you put it in a Pro Writing Aid or to Grammarly before you even think about your editor. Then I would personally try to do one more round of revisions and then one more round of the program. And that just kind of guarantees you're keeping the cohesive goals that you're aiming for. At that point, you decide, are you moving forward with an editor? I would recommend this, even if you're querying your letter. Definitely if you're going to go the self-publishing route. So then you start shopping around. My best suggestion would be connect with other authors who have editors they rely on and lean upon them to offer you solid recommendations. And then test them. Send them the first couple of pages of the first chapter, or the first couple pages of a chapter that you're kind of iffy about for you. Send it in. Ask them to give you a quick clue so you can see their process. They can see how you write. You guys can determine together if you're the right match to make your book a polished final piece. They might want $10, $25 or something to do this. Many will give you a couple pages as a preview of that for free so they get a feel. Because honestly, most editors do not want to just pick up work for the sake of picking up work. They want to pick up work that they know they can help you with. So a good editor would much rather do a page or two of your work, look at it concisely and with a critical eye, because that's what you're going to be paying them for, and get an idea if they can produce the results you want. And so once you've revised and revised again and revised again and put it through a free program to identify some of this, the structure issues, and then revised again, then you're going to try to find your editor. And after you have found an editor and you go through the editing process until you believe it's clean, you want to shift gears. In theory, the best route is to get a content editor, somebody who's going to identify plot holes, someone who's going to identify flow issues, someone who's going to identify where you need to expand or you need to cut. That's your content editor, because he's looking at the content of your story to make sure it all fits together the way it's supposed to be. Then you're going to want somebody who's going to do your line edits and make sure that your commas and your periods, your dots, or your dots and T's crossed, and all of that is done and looks clean and professional. And once you have gotten through 2 of those editors, and you're really happy with your book, you got another round. You got to send it out to beta readers. And these are 20, 25 of your favorite people. Now, I recommend people who are reading your work already, who are fans of either your work or fans of the genre, because they'll be able to give you accurate assessment. When you send it out to a beta reader, include 5 major questions you want them to focus on and a deadline. That encourages them to actually get through the book and to answer those 5 questions for you and to give you the necessary feedback. Do not ignore their feedback just because they're not editors. Do not ignore their feedback because they don't feel professional to you. Those are your readers. Those are the people you're writing for. Take their feedback to heart. Look at your story. Don't take it personal, but look at your story and see where you can add the information they've given you into the story. And once you've done that, then you're on the path to publishing. And by then you will have thought about how you want to publish, what steps you want to take, and then you'll think about what you need to do next. The great thing about NaNoWriMo, you finished your book. These are the next steps. Lots of revising, lots of editing, and all 100% worth it. Because your story is worth it. I'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.